Hello everybody. Well, I mean, look, this is the streaming thing that I've been doing for a bit now, and admittedly this is the beginning of the stream, which is quite usual, but then the question rises what I should do, because apparently people get notified and then they can join the stream, but when you're watching it as a video, then you're just looking at nothing and just hearing my, of course, pretty sure lovely voice, but then it's just not. Okay, how about you? See me now. That's better, I guess, but I've always had this trouble figuring out this dissonance, or whatever you want to call it, where I'm talking about nothing at the moment. It's kind of self-righteous, whatever speech about just the beginning of the stream. And while in about maybe 5 minutes, people will start joining in and we start having fun. Until then, I guess it's my time. So whatever I want to talk about. So let's talk about something. Alright. So, what should I talk about? I mean, obviously there's still this smog stuff going on in Budapest. As you can see, it's quite better now. On Monday, 2 days ago, I did a stream about this whole situation because of the lack of wind. People just like it's quite how can I explain it? I do not wish to repeat myself though, but as a recap, people burn rubbish and cheap wood, and as a result, and of course as due to the cars as well, I almost said cows, but we don't have that many cows, so due to the cars as well, it's the smog. Wow, this has been terrible, hasn't it? By the way, hello, that one person who actually joined, which is quite awesome. Let me just refresh the stream, which is saying that it's in good standing. That's insanely useful if you're watching this as a video, isn't it? But this is a stream. You have to forgive me for that. So as usual, questions are always welcome. And if there are no questions, I'm free to talk about whatever I want. For instance, cows. Aren't they fun? Well, yes they are, but also there are a couple of things that I can talk about. Fun stuff, actually. One of these things is that you have in English, you or anyone who speaks English, they have the word for wizard. Oz, for instance, would be a very famous wizard. And of course, in Hungarian, there must be a word for wizard. So, wizard would be varázsló, which is fantastic. It's a brilliant word, actually. Unfortunately, it does present a problem. The problem is that if you wish to analyze words in Hungarian, a problem arises that you start recognizing attachments and compound words, which is awesome, except if you go, for some reason, the wrong way. So today, as long as people are joining, and again, hello everybody, thank you for joining, I'm going to talk about this until questions come. Although I have to mention that some questions did come in an email format or just via Skype through or other means like Facebook Messenger or whatnot, because like, well, you know, I'm available not just to friends, because I like talking to people about different things. So I have to answer, no, not have to, but I would like to answer them as well. But this one comes from a friend in Hungary, this whole wizard situation. So let's say that you found the root words of this special wizardry thing that we have. One of them would be varázs, which means magic or magical. I mean, that makes sense, obviously. And the other is ló, which is horse. So, if I wish to translate this back to English, I can come up with this fantastic expression, magic horse equal varázsló. Is it funny? I don't know. I mean, to me it's insane. I mean, we had a laugh at the office, so... But we are very special people. However, besides it being funny, am I correct with this one? That's the question. And the answer is yes. Technically, magic horse means varázsló. So, you know, I mean, even though I'm generally wrong with this, I'm also not wrong. That is a weird situation. But then again, there is the word present in English, which could mean ajándék, a gift, and most now in Hungarian. So when it comes to translations, challenges in translation, such as automated translators, Google Translate for instance, this is entirely contextual. In English you cannot go wrong. I mean, when you say something like at present times or at the present, even though why would you say such a thing, but still, there. Or I can give you a present, which makes sense. However, the problem with this is you need to be a bit more creative. And to those of you who ask about the motivation behind the horse stuff, that thing is in an entire word. It's not a real compound word in that sense. So there is actually something that you can make that looks like varázsló, but also there is a word varázsló that means wizard, and it's not a compound word, despite the fact that I wrongly noticed those two root words in there. So that is the fun part of Hungarian. And now you can get all paranoid about everything, because what if I see ben or ló somewhere? For instance, what if I see ló in lotus, which is actually lotus in English, and then like, okay, so is it something to do, does it have something to do with horses or not? And of course the answer is no. But you know, so good luck from now on living with this paranoia in your little world. I have to admit though that this is funny, at least funny to me, but in all honesty it's not that, the situation is not that severe. So while we, you know, left behind the fun part of this stream and now we are all serious, it's not actually not that insanely serious. So most of the time, in my experience teaching Hungarian for a couple of years, I I would say that everybody can just like jump or skip through this whole paranoia situation. But you know, it's fun for a video or a stream. So, yes, indeed, no fun at all in reality. Now, but, question. So, here we go. Let's divide this and... Ooh, what is happening here? That's just crazy. Why is this... Huh. Strange stuff. Very strange stuff. Well, anyways. This one is not like the Windows notepad actually, so it does have weird stuff. Okay, anyways. So I was wondering if you could say... yeah, I don't know why I deleted that. Well, Hungarian people generally think about Erkel Ferenc. Right. Well, let's start with who he is. Erkel Ferenc is... well, this is in English, so we are not going to learn much from this, at least when it comes to Hungarian. So yeah, there you go. And so Erkel Ferenc is a composer. And the thing is that he's famous for these operas and all sorts of fun things that they have done. Probably most famous is Bang Bang, which is a tragedy of a person. Let's not go into that. Well, either it's just me, or maybe you know something, or some of you know something that I don't, but generally we like the guy, and he was a pretty good composer for its time. So I don't have any more information on that, because there is no scandal that I know of, or you know, he was not as crazy as Liszt, for instance. And Liszt was a pianist. That's... oh yeah. He was crazy. Also big hands, so that's fun. What's interesting though is a guy named Kodály Zoltán. Now Kodály Zoltán is to me much more interesting, because he wasn't a particular... well, he was a composer, sure, but he's not famous for any big operas or any great stuff. He's famous for collecting a lot of these folklore songs, and also coming up with an insane way of teaching music, which became world famous, mostly because it's very effective. So that's something that everybody loves him for. And of course, you know, he's Hungarian, we are very proud of him. Obviously we are proud of the people who accomplish great stuff. And while I'm not saying that Erkel Ferenc or Liszt Ferenc were bad people, just to me he is much closer, because he was, besides the musical education stuff, he was actually this person who wished to preserve Hungarian, let's say, things in general, Hungarian culture, folklore, and all that sort of stuff. And personally, perhaps that's why I like him, because he's closer to the way I think about Hungarian culture and culture in general, which mostly transcends this whole border situation that we have, but also constricts or creates clear borders that are of course different than political borders, and creates borders around the nations, creating this vast diversity that we have in Europe, which, you know, technically, if we look at it from a cultural perspective, we have a lot more basically countries, or whatever you want to call them, cultural units, than countries. So right. And so why do I feel like I've heard these names all my life? I can't point out who these people are until you remind. Yes, well, the thing is that I'm aware of these people, and of course I'm sort of a nerd, so maybe I'm more aware of these people than others in general, who are interested in different things. And it's not necessarily bad to be interested in people like Justin Bieber or Michael Jackson or whoever. So classic people who lived a long time ago might not interest a lot of people. Their music has a different beat to it, if you know what I mean. So classical can be enjoyed, but it's not that enjoyable in Hungarian, actually, now that we came to this. In Hungarian, classical music has this interesting name. In Hungarian, classical music can be called klasszikus zene, which is a literal translation. Klasszikus, classical, music, zene, quite awesome. But also can be called komoly zene, where komoly means serious. And now that probably describes this whole situation more than classical, because indeed I guess you have to have a seriousness when it comes to music. Not that the music is serious, but you just have to sit down and listen to a piece, and it's not, it could be as entertaining as listening to the latest and most interesting Ariana Grande or Katy Perry song, but it's harder to know your way around, especially when it comes to numbering. So the seventh something of this person is less catchy than Baby by Justin Bieber. I don't know why I keep referencing Justin Bieber though. I don't like the guy and I don't hate the guy. It's just, I guess he's on my mind quite a lot. So right, and again doing research on Erkel and always when by the way, when you're watching this video, sorry about the mumbling, I have to read things. Maybe I should read things, but those who are watching the stream, it's obvious that I'm reading things. Okay, let's try this and whatever. So thank you, it's interesting to hear. I'm doing research on Erkel and always very keen to hear how he is perceived today. Well, there you have it. So thank you. And right, so a grammar question. So let's go to the grammar side of this stream. There you go. I don't know why this is doing the thing it's doing. It's weird. Anyways, so örülök, hogy megismerhettelek versus örülök, hogy megismertetlek. Oh yeah, okay, right. Well, megismer is the root to get to know, and then megismertet, which is actually, I know, a variation of this, but it becomes a different word to introduce. So the difference between this is Örülök, hogy megismertetlek, means like I'm grateful that I'm introducing you, kind of. And then Örülök, hogy megismerhettelek. Now that is something to get to know someone. So I'm grateful that I can get to know you. So the first one is correct. So there you have it. It's cool. Right. Now, while you were absent, because I didn't tell anyone that I'm doing a stream actually on Monday, it was just like I was free. I promised and I teased those who were there with a fun short video that I made last weekend at Lake Tisza, and I talked about Lake Tisza before. It's not Balaton, it's the other one that is more fun, and there I spent a little time and just like walked around, had some fun, and then I actually shot some interesting stuff. Now please excuse the whole awkward situation. I'm pretty sure that I seem to be mildly interesting in front of the camera, but I'm not always that self-confident in front of the camera. So there you have it. It's me at the lake. So switching to you, Chris. Hey Chris. So behind me, as you can see, is Lake Tisza. And Lake Tisza is an artificial lake made by I don't know, sometimes. Well, I wish I've done my research, but that's your job actually. So anyways, Lake Tisza is an artificially made lake, and I am currently standing on a bridge of an incoming river. And it's very cold, and it's actually basically the water level is down to protect stuff, and also there are fish sleeping in the lake and stuff that's happening usually in winter, and it's almost completely frozen. We can actually go down there and hopefully not die. Alright, well, we are down on the ice, not dead yet, and behind me that's a bridge that I was standing on, and it's quite interesting. Probably. I mean, this is not something that you can do every day. First of all, the water must be frozen pretty well to be safe for us to be down here, and normally this river flows quite slowly into the lake, and when it's actually summer, this is full of fish and whatever. People actually use the bridge to go fishing, and there are some fishing spots nearby quite a lot, and people come here to have kind of a good time. Around the lake there is a protective dam, which supposed to, when every spring there is a huge flood coming into Hungary from the Ukraine and from the upper part, the northern parts of Hungary. So this dam we are standing on, or I'm standing on actually, is supposed to protect everything. Now, the way it was built was by humans and not machines. So lots of people during communism were paid, kind of, to have this done, and they did. That's the old bridge, by the way. It's pretty old, I would say. Anyway, so that's the river over there coming into Lake Tisza. There's a couple of them around, And basically the lake collects all the smaller rivers and streams and whatever from the northern east part of Hungary. And then what happens is they all flow into the river Tisza and then join the Danube in Serbia. Alright, I think that's enough interesting information about the lake. Hey, I'm back, I think. Wow. Alright, gotta pay attention. So, right, well that was the thing. So, normally this would have been much more organized. But that was it. It's the first time ever happened on live. So this is the first time you hear about it. Anyways, right, while that was going on, which was, I assume, that immensely interesting, there was a question, which is, holy cow. That's weird. Anyways, so is indirect speech always used with the definite conjugation? And, well, right, that is a very specific question, to be honest, because I don't think that there is a rule like that. So it's just not... let me fix this. No, I can't fix it. That's horrible. That's indeed horrible. Here you go then. Save the day by Notepad itself. So, is indirect speech always used with the definite conjugation? Recently I read the sentence Hova, megyünk, actually that's kérdezi. Here. Kérdezi, a vendég. Well, the thing is that in this case, I mean, I can talk about this special case, of course. Here, it's definite because there is a question in particular that the guest asked. So basically, this is like, where are we going? Asked the guest, or in a normal order, not the literature order, the guest asked. So yeah, that's the whole thing. Also, another question. What about Örülök, hogy megismerhetem? So going back to the original, which was about getting to know someone, well, this one is something that I do not particularly refuse to teach. I mean, not here, but in general, but always discourage people. I think I might have mentioned in a couple of videos back, or in one of my Learn Hungarian videos, that in Hungarian there is a formal mode and an informal mode. That means there is a special case, just like in German and in other languages, for the formal, and this would refer to you as them, or he or she, the formal version, which is another kind of third person, or third person singular or plural. So instead of megismerhetelek, which would mean getting to know you, you want to use megismerhetem, which is getting to know you as formal. But when it comes to formal, there are two simple rules that usually discourages people, or usually discourage because there are two of them. First one of the rule is, first one is that when you use formal, you're expected to be formal more than just the grammar. So it's not just that you have to refer to you as he or she. There are all sorts of crazy expressions you are expected to use. Second of all, it's never expected from you as a person who speaks Hungarian as a second language to use the formal version. And it's kind of confusing, at least for me, if you are switching constantly between formal and informal. But I'm saying that as a person, if you meet me in the street and you come up to me and use the formal, I will use the more complicated version of Hungarian, which is formal, and then you might get a bit confused and use the indirect and direct, and I will judge you because of that. And look, I mean, it's interesting when you learn languages. That hurt. When you learn languages, there are 3 common stages that you can achieve. First is that you can barely speak the language, as I am with a couple of languages. Like I can say some fun words in Portugal or German or Japanese. It's way distant from the other 2 categories. This one is like the basics of the basics, or the base of the base. Just I am aware of some rules, I am aware of something, and people generally love that, to my amusement. However, the second stage is probably the most common. It's when you are not really judged because you clearly speak it as a second language, and everybody is just happy that it's amazing that you learned the language and you speak it very well, so there you go. And the third is that when you can be a bit convincing, not or almost convincing, that you can almost convince someone that you are from a general area of Hungary, the UK, the US, or something. Something is odd, and then only on that level the formal would be expected, because then the expectations are quite high. Suddenly they become high, because if I meet you and my first impression of you as you speaking Hungarian almost perfectly, then I will treat you as a Hungarian with all its advantages, that, you know, it's like amazing, you're fantastic, and if it ever turns out that you speak Hungarian as a second language, I will just be in a constant awe. But before that, and even sometimes after that, my first instinct is to judge you on the level of native speakers. So then if you use the formal and you use it not well, you use it in a wrong way and you make mistakes, I might suddenly judge you instinctively. And even though I know that you're trying and it's awesome. So yeah. Okay, and yeah, there was another question about kérdezi, which was right. And this one is not, that wouldn't be okay, because this is not definite, and you clearly referring to the question. So 2 things could happen. I don't understand the whole thing, or the text was wrong. Both could happen. So Right. Sorry, I was thinking, but I couldn't come up with any other solution. So to me, this works, but nothing else does. All right. So while everyone is having fun, praising me, of course, as always, because that's always awesome. What else should we talk about? Well, obviously I have an answer for that. It was just like an open letter to everyone to ask a couple of questions. And I wanted to say, because right now it seems that for some weird reason 18 people are watching at the moment, and it's becoming harder and harder for me, without a crew as you can see, to keep track of all the questions. I do not wish to be rude ever, and I feel that if I don't answer a question, I'm rude. So while I don't have a system to collect all the chat questions, and I might not notice them, so if you feel that I did not answer your question, or I forgot about it, or I did not understand it, just keep asking the same question, and I promise that I will surely answer and probably apologize if I noticed that. So there was this question about a couple of cities. I wonder if I copy this. Something broke in this file. Something that I have not encountered since the ancient days. But okay, let's put things into perspective. I talked about Lake Tisza. I always talk about it, I feel, but I know I was there. I couldn't travel to anywhere. But then I actually planned to just run around in Budapest talking a little bit about stuff. We'll see how popular that gets. However, so let's see. First city, Dunaúj város is here, and well, the answer is mostly yes. I am aware of the bigger cities. I've been to most of them. Those are my personal stars, like stuff that I know and I like, and perhaps it's like a car mechanic or some restaurant or whatever, so that's usually tough. And I rarely have any stars around the country, but I did go to Győr, Szombathely, Sopron, Kőszeg, almost all of the cities. For some reason I haven't been here, Békéscsaba or Gyula. I don't know why. It's I don't know. I got as far as Szarvas. But so Dunaúj város is one of the fun cities, famous for a couple of things, and mostly it's industry, as it clearly shows here, and steelworks. Now, an interesting tale would be that during socialism, the USSR tried to rearrange the countries according to its ideology. Now, I'm not talking about political stuff or cultural stuff, I'm talking about economics. So this whole economic area of Hungary, as you can see, with its vast fields where you can grow things and spend your days out with the cows and the sheep, because we have lots and lots of land and grass and all that, the USSR, along with Hungary, thought it would be an absolutely obvious and fantastic idea to dramatic scene change to make it into an industrial nation. Now, I will just let that sink in. I know I was kind of obvious with this whole dramatic approach of things, but it happened, and the funny thing is that it really happened, that they thought it would be an awesome thing to do. So Dunaújváros is one of them, Miskolc is the other, that was an insane industrial city, and unfortunately nowadays Miskolc is counted as one of the poorest cities, because in this day and age we don't have any industrial stuff going on there. Naturally, because nobody needs it. The industrial areas like Krakow or this whole whichever area of Germany, they are much more efficient, and of course China is awesome and cheap to produce these things. So now Gödöllő as the next one. Gödöllő is interesting because, as you can see, I live here. It's not a secret because I have to list my business online, and since my place is the headquarters of the business, there you go. So nobody drops in unannounced, so I don't mind. But as you can see, Gödöllő is quite close, and Gödöllő houses the a royal castle, which is awesome. Actually, it's technically it's here, over here, and it's quite fun. Yeah, I think that I can show this. Does it work? Does it work? Does it work? No, I put myself into the wrong place, as always. Right, sorry about that. This is what I wanted to show. Ah, there you go. So that is the royal castle. It is actually the royal castle, but the truth is, it's just it wasn't as royal. It was part of a noble family's domain, and it was a favorite of one of the empress of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, Sissi, if I remember correctly. But I don't know about any royalty stuff going on here. It's not like the castle of Buda or the castle of Visegrad, which are much more interesting, because the castle of Buda is over here, well, kind of here, and Visegrad is up here in the north, and that was the favorite fortress or castle of our most famous king, Mátyás. Now, he was called Mátyás the Just, and also like he loved literature and all sorts of stuff. Oh yeah, and Miskolc was something that I already talked about. Well, there you go. So, before we go on with all our crazy adventures, which means that I'm going to say goodbye because it's the end of the stream, it's for the record, but also I always love to sort of make it clear that whenever I try to talk about these places, I always try to talk about how Hungary, the way Hungary perceives them, with its rumors, with its not really based on fact kind of approach. So when I talk about Miskolc, I'm pretty sure that it's a fine city. Also, I have to mention that it houses one of the most beautiful little waterfalls and ponds where you can go on. Well, it's close, it's Lilafüred, but let me show you. It's part of Miskolc, actually. It's over there, and it's a pretty fun place. Oh well, that is so that's the lake thing. You can just go on and do stuff. And I have not been to this restaurant. I know of it. Oh, those are the little boats that you can rent. So if you want to go to Miskolc, it's always fun to check out Miskolc itself with all the industrial stuff, because I'm always fascinated by the size, the sheer size of the industry. But then go to Lilafüred and check out the things, and so Miskolc technically has a lot to offer. It's just, it has a weird history. So yeah. Right. And yeah, Visegrad is famous for its medieval stuff, so that's pretty fun, actually. We have something called the Visegrádi várjátékok, palotajátékok, I'm sorry, which is a national festival of, let's view it in English, it's a national palace games of Visegrad. It's something to check out. It's a fun thing, and this website is kind of broken because I can't go back to Hungarian. And you can get it's about maybe 10 euros to get a ticket for one person, and then for kids it's even cheaper, so it's not that horrible. Yeah. So there you go. Now, I think that this marks the end mostly of this stream. Hopefully will be better over the weeks. I do tend to have a bit more amount of streaming going on, and especially if it gets more popular, but Wednesdays will always be Wednesdays. So there you go. And as always, I really enjoy everyone's presence. I always try to read all the stuff that's going on. Probably you can see me just like reading stuff, which is boring in a video, I know. But anyways, thank you for coming, and just keep coming because it's a lot of fun. Alright, goodbye. I bid you farewell with a bunch of cows, because I do like cows, and cows are fun, and also I like stuffed cows, so there you go. Alright, that's it, and see you next week, if not sooner, and then we will have fun again. Don't forget the questions.